One of the things you
That's hilarious.
live long enough to die a hero, live long enough to see yourself become the villain. Yeah, I became the fucking villain for sure, man. I melted
Yeah.
motherfuckers with that. It was brutal.
Yeah, can I segue to just a point briefly on the mention of the word villain, because it was something that came to mind. If we can maybe start on the story
Oh,
discussion here.
sure, definitely. Yeah, that was.
Okay, perfect transition then.
Yeah.
So the idea of a villain or a bad guy is concreted in any type of story driven adventure. Basically, is you have a hero, a protagonist, and then a villain and antagonist. And this game did such a beautiful job of blurring those lines, because there were situations where you can say very easily, overall, is there are no heroes. Everybody does wrong, everybody hurts everybody else, and mistakes are made constantly. And that's part of the realism and the immersion of this game, is that these characters are all flawed in different ways, and a lot of them are doing the best that they can, but there's things that they can't get over, or there's things they can't get past, or they make the wrong decision over and over and over again. And it's just like people. We've all known people like every one of these characters in some ways. And the idea of there needing to be a good guy and a bad guy is so cemented in people's brains, and how we even digest stories now of any type of formula, whether it be TV, movies, books, comics, animation, games, anything like that. Is we usually have a hero. It's somebody to root for. It's a core basis of storytelling, and this game really did a number on me when we switched perspectives and we started playing as Abby, because I was groaning and I was like, no, I don't want to. Like,
Exactly.
obviously we already hit the spoiler alert, but I'm gonna spoiler again. Get out of here if you haven't played this. But fuck, man, the way that they did Joel, I was pissed for like a week. I was so mad because it was so brutal and like personal, you know, that this guy that we spent so many hours with in the first game, and that we grew to love as like a father hero type of figure, saving the girl that he looks at as his daughter. Like he was the good guy for us. But you come to realize that in life and in this game, that it's messy. There's things that you do with good intentions that will be the worst part of somebody else's life. And that's what this game turned out to be. Is it was a revenge story for both of them. And they were each not quite the hero in their story, but they were doing the best that they could. And throughout the rest of the last half of the game, playing as Abby and then going back and forth, is I really felt for both characters. And I hated towards the end that final fight scene. Like, fuck, man, it was tearing me up. But do you agree, or do you have anything to add on like that switching up of the dynamic that Naughty Dog did? That the writing was so effective that everybody was a hero and a villain. What do you think about that?
Oh, definitely, man. Like that's like it's like an echo chamber, man. and, and the to not to jump too far ahead. So I that final, yeah.
Yeah,
There's
I didn't
so
want to go
much I
all the
wanted.
way,
There's
but
so no, man. Hey, get on a roll and go. That's there's no locked format here. This is what I want. I want your honest opinion and feeling on it. That's the thing. Like, but when you talk like that opening scene, even the second time I watched it, where Joel and Tommy are
yeah,
talking, and Joel is laying the heaviest fucking shit on his brother imaginable.
yep,
Like you sit there, try to put yourself in Tommy's fucking shoes, man. Like this
yeah,
is your brother, and this is the fact that, I mean, I'll use air quotes. I've got that Ellie could have saved humanity. We don't know. We don't know. Like that's the whole thing. We
yeah.
don't know. He could have killed her for nothing. We
There
don't
was a
know.
chance, but
Right.
we don't know.
But I mean, that's the thing. Like that's why they never concreted ever answered the question, because no one ever knew. And that opens the door for so much. But yeah, that the weight of that fucking opening scene is just fuck. I couldn't imagine sitting across from somebody living in a world that you're living in, fighting for your fucking life for the last 20 fucking years.
Yeah,
And then all of a sudden the dude's like, you know what? That little girl I got here, she could have saved humanity, but I'm a fucking selfish prick and I murdered the doctor that could have saved the world. Mother, like, what the fuck? Like, he wasn't nonchalant about it. I mean, Joel was devastated and he lived with that. that every second of his life. There was no
Yeah.
like forgiving yourself for that, right?
Yeah.
There's no saying.
Well, that's what I mean. That's what I mean by like a lot of them were simply doing the best that they could.
Exactly. And that's what he said too. Like, and he lied to Ellie. I mean, that the ending is in The Last of Us. It shocked and angered some people, but
Yeah.
I mean, we'll get into shock and anger maybe in another episode. But the weight of the story and how it was told, and that the fucking hate that you had for Abby because you didn't know anything.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You like she fucking treats Joel like a fucking his head like a watermelon, and she splits it open with a fucking golf club.
Yeah, and it was brutal, dude. Like I teared up, and I was so hurt and upset, and I felt such a sense of betrayal. And Ellie's like crying and pleading, and like that was me, you know. Like I was losing. I was like, no, how could they?
I'm so glad it never got spoiled. There was so many people, you know, whenever they first showed that first teaser trailer where she was playing the guitar in the bedroom,
Yeah,
and Joel walks in, and everyone's like, "Oh, Joel's dead, Joel's dead, Joel's dead," and then they never touched on anything. Anytime there was ever any questions and anything, they just kept, and then they lead it to the whole thing with we're going to introduce another character. The whole thing with her and Dina when they showed that part in the tent. And then all of a sudden, then it's like, oh, this killing everybody makes sense. So something happens to Dina then, right? Yeah. And she's gonna go off and leave Joel. Like Joel, like I'm not listening to you. I'm gonna go because they, you know, killed or they done something nasty. I don't want to say the word, but they done something nasty to Dina, and I'm gonna go and I'm gonna fucking end them for what they did to her. And because it was a story, and Neil said it was a story about hate, and it is. You fucking hate Abby.
Yeah.
For what they done to Joel, and you. But then the flip when you learn later on who the fuck Abby is.
It's like of course she would. Everything made sense. You would identify with, you know, I liked that they included that brief flashback of her and her dad, the doctor, you know, at the hospital. But like, you know, it was the zoo animals running around. It was the scene with the zebra.
Yeah.
I liked that they included that because not only was like, at first, I felt like it was a cheap attempt at humanization of a character that I hated so much that I didn't want to be humanized. I didn't want to sympathize or feel a connection in any way to Abby. I was so angry and hurt at what she did. I was like, I don't care. Like, I don't want to know. I don't want to get her backstory. I don't care about it because I'm so mad. Nothing's going to justify this. And by the end of the game, like I said, you know, it becomes understandable, and it's so heart-wrenching that you feel that both characters are justified. You know, there's no winners.
Oh hell no. They're all it's hate and regret and revenge and everything else all wrapped into this package of violence. Grief. It's so much. There's so much. Just it's like fuck, it's like you just want to fucking scream with the TV because it's like fucking like this is just it's horrible. Like the part where when Joel is dead and you're laying on the ground as Ellie and you're like realizing when Dina wakes her up a bit after she got kicked in the face and she has a double realization she witnessed it, got knocked out, gets woken up and still has to look at the mess what Abby did to Joel's fucking head. And it's so visceral and just gut wrenching. I was stunned in silence. I'm glad I didn't have a cam on me when I was streaming, man. I was sitting there and I'm like, I fucking was speechless. You know me? When am I ever speechless? You know, not too many games have ever done that.
Not even when you're sleeping.
No, fuck no. I probably say a lot of dirty things in my sleep. You don't want to be anywhere near me.
You do. I can confirm.
Yeah. Shh. Don't tell. But I mean, like the part that got me was after that, like the next scene, and is sure at his plot, and then going into back to his house, and her going into the part where like you get the extra stuff where you open the closet and she smells his shirt, and I'm sitting there and I ain't gonna lie, man, I welled up, man. I had like I'm not crying, you're crying, you know.
I cried.
It was like because you you were with her so much all the way through with her and Joel in the first game. It was like, and it was an experience I've never had in a game like that before.
Yeah.
And it was like, man, this is awesome. Like, I don't think there's any games out there, like a story-driven game I've played through that many fucking times.
Yep.
You know?
Well, even like going back to play The Last of Us over again, every time that I do, that opening sequence just destroys me. I cry every time, dude.
I don't now, but I mean, the first time I was in shock, and I was stunned in silence, and I'm probably, like, I'm glad I wasn't streaming that either. But I mean, like, it's such a thing to deal with, and I mean, a little different for me. I don't have kids, and you do, so I mean, there's a little level of difference, between the two of us and that. But I mean, I can relate to devastation and heartache.
Oh,
Everybody,
God,
pretty
yeah.
much everyone can. So, I mean, I have a thing where I get bad news, and I feel bad for the person that has to deal with it, and that's where my emotion starts. It's like whenever, like my aunt passed away, it's like I feel so bad for my mom. It's like it sucks my aunt passed away, and I was upset, but I internalize and I feel what the other person's feeling, and this is what you go through playing these fucking games. It's like
Yeah.
the
Well, that's
anger
empathy.
and it's the anger and the frustration and the hatred, and I know what you're talking about, man. Playing as Abby, I'm like. But I was able to I was able to not really say slowly, but not even really quickly. I was at a medium pace, able
Yeah.
to able to
Gradually, sure.
kind of come back around to like, okay, I'm just gonna play as Abby. I want to see like the story hits me. I was in. I want to see how this goes. Like I was all the way in, and I was not upset to play as Abby.
Hmm.
But yeah, it was the whole thing. I think it was like, I just want to get this over with kind of deal a little bit. But then as things progressed and we met more characters and things got fleshed out, and
Yeah.
all the pieces of the puzzle were coming together, it was such a fucking joy, the story in that aspect. I mean, the story was nothing about hate and violence and brutality, but the
Sure.
joy of how all the puzzle pieces just fell into place. Like the
Yes.
conversations that you knew happened. Like even the scene where she kills Joel, as you're as Ellie, you don't hear the side of the conversation. But
Yeah.
when they come back around to the other side, you hear the conversations that everyone was having because you're no longer on the ground having a complete and utter fucking mental breakdown as Ellie,
Yeah.
not focusing on voices, you're focusing on the horror in front of you. So you hear what everyone else says. It's like, holy crap, like it's so surreal to be on the other side of the coin at this. It was such a like I wanted to get up and like fucking standing ovation for
Yeah.
how the story fell into
Well,
place.
and part of slipping into an acceptance and eventually a sympathetic or empathetic view of Abby, part of that was all the character dynamics that like the other characters that came in that we had to meet. Part of that little troop
Yep.
of a group of fireflies was Abby and Owen and Manny and Mel.
Yeah.
I think Owen is probably one of the best start to finish characters in the game.
I wasn't a big fan of him now. He was a good
Well,
character, but I didn't like him. Like
I
I don't know.
I liked that he had other things to live for.
Yes, that was that. Yeah, he wasn't.
You know,
Right.
yeah, he wasn't focused on the fighting. He wasn't focused on even the vendetta, the lifelong goal of Abby to find and track down Joel. You know, he seemed like it was such a reluctant acceptance. It was, I said I'm going to do it, so I'll do it, but I fucking hate this.
Yeah.
You know, and none of the other characters seemed to really have that. Manny was great comic relief. I loved playing with Manny next to me, but like he kind of didn't have much other than what we found out, when they were in the stadium base, just shagging women, which is a great life goal. But like, I don't know, his character seemed a little bit shallow, a little comical, you know what I mean? Like, great friend to have around. But as far as like the depth of the character, he didn't get as much love in the writing section. Neither did Mel, I don't think, which was the pregnant woman from Owen.
Yeah.
But I thought that Owen was very, very well fleshed out as just kind of an unwilling participant to the revenge from both sides.
Right.
He didn't really have anything to do with it.
Right. I guess when you look at him that way, it makes because of how he was like, just end this. Like, you came here to do something. Let's not let's not drag this out to the whole town is here and killing everybody over you. You killing this man is your goal. Let's get your shit done and we'll get out of here and move on. And then he
Yeah.
was, the whole thing about going to San Diego. Is it San Diego? Yeah, San Diego. And it was California. So the whole vision of wanting to move on was the thing. Like, yeah, he had vision beyond just being WLF in Seattle. Like, and I mean,
well, and he spent a lot of time too in the aquarium, and that's what I mean by like a fleshed out. I think start to finish, he was probably one of my favorite characters, just because he took time where nobody else did to look at beautiful things and to try to make something other than pain and revenge and hurt.
Yeah,
he turned the aquarium into kind of a sanctuary.
Yeah, that's true. He did. It was.
I really, really appreciated the time they took with Owen, and we didn't get too much of it, but he was conflicted in a way that no other character really was. I don't think, in this kind of like, I want to share what's left of this life in a positive and loving and appreciative way. And he had some conflicted loyalties, with Abby and Mel, but I still feel like he was trying to take happiness in this life, in the moments that he could and that he could create. And I can't say that about any other character really, other than maybe Dina. But still, as far as the side characters go, I think not Abby, Owen was probably my favorite.
The biggest thing with him is none of the initial bit of the vendetta, other than just being Abby's father and someone he knew. Like, it wasn't his father, it wasn't his father-in-law. I mean, yeah, they were just dating. Like, he had the doctor, whatever I can't remember his name was, Abby's father. Like, he had a connection to him, but I mean, not the same way that Abby did, of course, because it was just her father. But I mean, even still, once it was done, he said that it was done. And I think Abby even was trying to move on. So they went from always having this hatred and this urge for vendetta and everything else, and then it dropped off whenever Joel was dead. And see, this is where Ellie's everything was on the even keel. She was, just the growing pains of being a girl, and is she a lesbian, not a lesbian? Is she in love with this girl, love with that girl? And then all of a sudden, her world turned into utter violence, and Dina got drug along with it because her life was even keel, and then all of a sudden, she knew Joel. She was best. She was in love with Ellie. She probably loved Tommy or Joel as like, maybe not a father figure, but as someone to look up to and respect because of who he was and what he done for the town and stuff. So the characters on one side got the peace, and the other side they turned utter violence, like, because of the peace. Well, so it was such a flop. We didn't get a big flesh out. And the time, I don't think, to flesh out the character the same way we kind of see Owen go from hate into, oh, okay, we're out of this now. We're no longer dealing with, hunting this man down and killing him. We're moved on with our lives. So I think that's probably what we got a bit more fleshed out with him. And yeah, man, he was all about the ladies, and I think he was, I don't know what his initial background was, but he seemed fine with doing the military stuff. So I mean, like, we got the kind of the horny grunt is what he was.
Yes.
For sure. Mel's character, she was the wishy-washy, jealous girlfriend.
Yeah.
Like, she definitely played that part well. Is like, she wasn't aggressive, she wasn't tough, but she was trying to be the, I'm the sweet.
Yeah, she was pretty patient, and she gave them space.
Yeah. From
what we could tell, she wasn't like overreaching. She wasn't like, that annoying type of jealousy. Like, there actually was something there, and she knew it, but she didn't tell them not to see each other or whatever, anything like that.
Not until the end, where she said about not going to San Diego. She was leaving with them. The part in the game where you're Ellie and you go into the aquarium, and you face off with Owen and Mel.
Yeah,
I forgot that Mel was pregnant.
Oh,
I kind of forgot that she was pregnant.
Well, I don't think I was clear on the timeline of it, so I don't know that
I kind of never it didn't hit me right away until it hit
yeah,
until he said it, and then Ellie and I was like, oh fuck, yeah, that's right, she's pregnant, fuck. Because
yeah.
even though like because then you play after that, you go into playing Abby's first day in Seattle is when you see Mel pregnant, right?
Hmm.
Because you're playing back and you get to see how that story falls. It's like to sit down and write something and put the pieces into place, like fucking bravo, like it just
Yeah.
and
Well, and being able to see, I liked that Abby's Seattle time that we played in was just before, for the most part, just before the sequence of events that we just played through as Ellie in Seattle.
there
And
was
then
always
it
like a
did
couple
backtrack, but
steps between each other.
yes. And then I loved when there was little nods to what Ellie was doing or Tommy was doing
Yeah,
when we were playing as Abby. He's like, oh, I know that's them.
yeah,
You
exactly.
know?
There was such great storytelling. There was such great like characters. Like I mean, I don't think I hated any of the characters. Like I said, I wasn't a big fan of Owen and Mel, but not because they were horribly acted or I just like maybe not playing as them and just having a lot of dialogue maybe at times a little bit. I don't know. Like not to say that I hated the characters, but I liked them as their characters. But it's like I don't know. I don't know how to explain it. I'm more interested in playing as Abby and dealing with like going out and fighting as Abby and then have to deal with like, oh god, Owen's wanting to show me Christmas lights. What the fuck? Like, you know, whatever. But their
No, but
banter was
I,
always
I appreciated that.
I did it to a point because it humanizes everybody, right? It gives everyone. It's not just like I said. It's broadens the story. It's not just everyone running around shooting everything that moves. But
Yeah.
it's like I don't know. Maybe it's because I've done two plays back to back. Maybe is why it kind of turned me a bit away. But if I try to think back to my first playthrough, I was sucked into everything. Like it was, you know, every little thing. I was looking at every little corner. You know,
Yeah.
trying to find all the ammo and supplies I could get, and I was looking for clues.
Did you beat the high score when they were in the aquarium?
I was
And
doing
as
the
Abby, you had to
yeah.
shoot the target.
Almost did too. I screwed up. The first few shots, I was like dropping, like I'm like aim a lot higher. And I was like, I can move, so I moved up, and I was getting in better angles. So, yeah, the first time I fucking nearly screwed up. I think there was 2 seconds on the clock, and I popped the last one. I was like,
Yeah.
holy shit! I feel like an idiot because I mean it's you know it shouldn't be that hard, but yeah, like
Yeah.
the fun things like that really add to the whole like story and depth of the game. Like yeah, when I think back to the first playthrough, there was a lot of that stuff was fun. Like discovering the sailboat inside the aquarium.
Yeah.
Like that
Yeah.
was it was so neat and like to think of let's put a sailboat in there and it's like it becomes like it becomes a focal point of that part of the story where they find it and then later on they're back in it again when she comes back and finds them all fucking drunk and depressed and shit and they
Yeah.
end up having sex in there and then the whole thing where she regrets it and Mel shows up and Mel knows she can smell it on them.
Yeah.
Mel's
Showers are not around.
yeah.
Owen was a drunken mess, so he
Yeah.
definitely didn't clean up.
Yeah. I don't think he swabbed the deck if you know what I'm saying.
He's like, no, I was fishing.
Yeah. Shit. But the scene that we seen the scene in an early trailer where Abby was strung up with a neck.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and then we're gonna introduce two new characters, Yara and Lev, which were great characters.
Yeah.
I didn't hate the characters. I liked the characters. I was invested.
I at first was a little confused as to the relationship. I actually thought that Yara was the mother, and not that they were siblings because there seemed to be an age gap, and maybe it was just like, and not to be in any way racist, but Yara with the Asian thing, like I couldn't tell how old she was.
No, I mean like and
You know,
like, she acted.
she could have been 12, but she also could have been 45.
I don't look at 45, but yeah, that Asian woman meme is like they look 9 until they're 25, and they look 25 until they're 45, and then
Yeah.
they look 83.
Yeah.
Like yeah, that's
So
that's
you know,
not-
there was mentions of being, you know, siblings, and I was like, oh, okay.
But see, the thing
I
is
got
with
it.
her, she acted. Well, them being the scars, they
Seraphites.
sorry, the Seraphites. They because of the way they lived, they didn't understand. Like, you know, they didn't live.
Yeah.
They lived in the woods, and they
They're
were
essentially Amish.
kind of, yeah, like they were the Amish military. Um, they like it's like there was parts where the funny thing was where Abby said to Lev about being cool, and later on Lev goes cold. Like she instead of saying cool, she said cold, and then Abby laughed and corrected her. But I mean, yeah, Yara acted so much like an adult. Like
Yes.
she didn't act like she might have been 15. I don't know. They never did say her age. I don't think, but she acted so much older. I think than she was.
Yeah,
And at
well,
first
and
I
Lev
thought,
too.
yeah, and I mean, Lev was what they said, 14, 12. I'm
Something
12.
like
I'm
that,
12.
12 to
Not,
14, I
I'm
think.
12, not 8. When she's making the joke about the dogs playing poker, because I'm 12, not 8 or something. So, but the part where the whole, I thought she was a girl, and then I'm thinking, oh, she's a boy. Okay, I think she was a girl that shaved her head, and that's why they were mad at her.
Right.
And then
Yeah.
they kind of fleshed out that she was a girl, but she wants to be, she identifies as a boy. And I mean, that doesn't bother me. I mean, if it was there or not there, it doesn't make a personal difference to me.
No.
It doesn't take away or add anything to the story, but well, I shouldn't say it doesn't add to the story. It explains their story, why
Yeah,
they were
it's the
running.
catalyst to their entire story arc.
Right. So, but I mean, like the fact that if they had wrote a different story arc for them, it wouldn't have made a difference to me, yes or no. Like it doesn't upset me, and I don't have an issue with it. Same thing with Ellie being a lesbian. I was like, I mean, we're gonna get into that part of the story. It doesn't.
Personally unaffected by
Yeah.
the choices that either one of them made.
Exactly.
I still sympathize with them because they're still people, and we learn to care about them.
Exactly. So whenever like you talk about the characters in the game and you go back, I like Dina, I like Jesse. I thought those were great, good supporting characters as well. I
like Jesse a lot.
There was fun moments with each of them interacting with either the three of them together, which wasn't a lot. There was a little bit of that, but then when they were with each other, like the dialogue between Dean and Ellie was always fun and interesting, and there was like, you know, that the relaxed banter that made it feel like, you know, like this is what people are like.
Yeah,
Even though it's a fucking apocalypse, people still are sarcastic and make jokes and puns and all that shit. And Jesse, you know, like he was kind of like wanted to be the leading man, like kind of deal. I'm not saying that he wanted, you know, Dina back, but he was trying to be like a bit of a leader. Like he had that, you know, maybe a bit of drive to be like Joel and be like Tommy, to be.
Yeah, he had a natural charisma. It was, you know, reserved and soft spoken a little bit, but it was a confidence born of being competent.
Right. And
you know, he could handle his shit.
Right, and there was, you know, there was great banter between him and Ellie when they were out together and stuff in Seattle. So I liked, like I said, there was no real characters I hated. I mean, even Maria, when she was talking to Ellie about at Joel's house after he died, about how, in other words, go bring Tommy back, like go grab my stupid ass husband and get him back here, you know, like, and even that part where she was trying to talk to Ellie. When you learn about what happened at the party and how Joel stepped in whenever the guy's going on about her being a dyke and stuff, and her asking Ellie if everything was all right. You didn't learn about her and Joel having that conversation until so much later in the game, to where you understood that they already had a conversation about it. You like it was like circling back, the fucking puzzle pieces falling into place in the game. Like I never expected to have so many revelations through the whole fucking, like, the many hours I spent playing the game.
Yeah.
Like, amazing. Back to the Yara and Lev thing with the Seraphites. The whole thing about them having this religion-based world they lived in, and how their mother would even basically either turn in Lev or kill Lev because of Lev's, you know, the choice in life. And you know, like, it's like, holy shit, like, it's totally like a David Koresh kind of thing going on here. Like, these Seraphites are like,
I find it utterly believable.
Oh, it is.
In everything that happened. Yes. Absolutely believe that there would be a cult like phenomenon going on, and that people would be diehards like that. Absolutely, because we have them now. The world is so much more tame.
1,000%. Like, there's like, it's the apocalypse side of it being fantastical because, you know, it's fantasy driven.
It's not that far away now, I guess.
You begin to wonder some days. But I mean, the fact that like the actions and the outcomes of the interactions of fucking people would still be the same. In a fucking apocalypse, everyone's not going to be your friend and everyone's not going to be your enemy. Life is life, and it only changes environmentally.
Yeah, pretty
Right?
much. I had mentioned the same comment to my wife as we were playing. I was like, after we were introduced to the Seraphites and we got a little more involved in their story, and I was like, fucking people are still the same.
Yeah.
You can depend on the good and the bad and the ugly and people to be the exact same way no matter what happens. We always end up in the same place.
Yep. Exactly. It's mind-numbing to know that they hit the nail on the head and you just look out your window and it's like, holy shit.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, you play the video game for an escape, but it's like, holy shit. Like,
yeah, I saw like the warning signs in the abandoned shops for wearing masks to stop the spread, and I almost took a picture of it, and I was like, well, people, this is what'll happen.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I mean, like it's such a realization to sit back and look at how, yes, it's a story, it's made up, it's based in a world that technically doesn't exist. I mean, yes, Seattle's a real place and yada yada yada, but it doesn't exist to the point where this isn't happening. Air quotes yet, but I mean, it's people are people, and yes, the environment may change, but people are still people, and sadly, that's never going to change.
Yeah, it's so realistic in the way that they wrote the story, that they fleshed out the characters, that they set the environments and the scenes to happen, and everything, really, even to the groups that were going on. It's a fictional story that is told factually, and everything is set up with incredibly realistic in how everyone would interact with each other and the actions that they would take and the emotions they would feel.
Right, because you look at like the WLF, like they, you'd have a faction that would, they were kind of like a jacked up Fireflies, like these.
Yeah, like paramilitary.
Right.
Sure.
So you definitely once the government organizations fall to the ground, this happens in fucking other countries as we speak. Technically, so that's not a big stretch. And they'd have one guy that was like kind of the leader, like everything fleshed down through, and he, I mean, it's such a surreal story to like sit back and go, this could happen.
Sure.
Maybe not to the extent of the way the infected are. And speaking of infected, what the fuck did you think of the Rat King in the hospital basement?
Oh my God, let me tell you, I had to stand up. My hands were sweating. My knees weak. Mom spaghetti, the whole deal. It was like I was so anxious and I was yelling like as I'm trying to run away from this thing. Like, because, they had so much health. The other like giant things, I don't remember the names of them anymore. But all of the giant creatures, whenever they would appear, it was so like, oh my God, fuck, shit. Like I just, it was so, it pulled me in so much that I was so afraid to die and run out of ammo or run into a wall because I had the camera looking back at him and not where I was going. And like, just, it was so nerve wracking. I spent, in the, you remember the brief flashback scene, just to take it back a little bit to where Ellie and Joel were clearing the hotel.
Yeah.
And that one big creature basically chased you around.
Yeah, the boomer.
You remember that? Okay, so again, I had to stand up.
Not the boomer. What the hell did they call those?
I don't remember what they called it.
Shit.
I didn't think to look it up before.
We fought them in the first game. God, I feel like an idiot. I'm just a brain fart.
I don't know, but you know who I'm talking about. That big, giant, ugly, disgusting thing. Man, I ran out of all my fucking ammo. Bloater, yeah. I ran out of every goddamn shell. I had nothing left.
Well, in that scene, you have to run around until he catches Ellie.
Yeah.
And then
eventually I found it.
Yeah. So that's an automatic. That has to happen that way. There's no way to take it down. It's impervious technically until you get to that one piece of the cutscene to where Joel chops its arm off or whatever.
But oh man, I loved the addition of the new infected that we got. Yes, those were fantastic. The stalkers were very creepy and hard to figure out. You know, and I like that. If you notice too, if you were aiming down the sights and you were looking, like knowing one was behind the corner, it wouldn't peek out. It wouldn't look. But you look slightly away, and that head would pop out.
Yeah. It was a fucking massive cat and mouse game with them fucking things.
Yes.
When I was playing as Abby, I rushed the motherfuckers. Like, I was running up just jacked and screaming like a fucking roid, fucking swinging and throwing shit. Like I was like, I hate fighting these motherfuckers so much. Just let me beat their fucking heads in.
Yeah.
And
what I would try to do is keep walls around me as much as I could and just have my shotgun equipped. And I would I'd walk, I'd move, but I would make sure I knew kind of where they were at and just be ready for when they rushed me. That was it.
Yeah, try to bait them into a doorway. It's like, you kind of bait them, you move until you get them to move, make a bunch of noise, get them to move, and then bait them back towards the doorway, and they rush in and just pop a bunch of shotting. Yeah, that's what I was doing too. But yeah, there was times where I'd rush forwards, and a few times, like, you know, I have a melee weapon, and I'd know where they were at, because, like, they just ran around a corner, and they'd stop, and you could kind of hear them a little bit. I'd run in there fucking screaming like a maniac and just start swinging, fucking knocking their heads off and shit. It was so rewarding, because they were such a fucking... They're like a fucking mosquito in the ear, man. Like, son of a bitch, you need to die. Yeah, but yeah, the bloaters and those acid guys, whatever they were called.
Yeah.
I can't remember what they called them. I'm trying to blank, but they were.
In Left 4 Dead, weren't they called bloaters?
No, they're called boomers.
Boomers.
Boomers. Yeah, the bloater was the big one, and I can't remember what these were called. Someone's gonna scream with the screen.
It's
probably
fine.
In the
They're
comments.
boomers.
Hopefully good. But yeah, the second one, that other one they showed up. But that Rat King, man.
Yeah.
When I was in the ambulance and it comes down, I'm like, what in the fuck? My wife was watching.
That's the one that was. It was like pieces were falling off and then coming after you.
Yeah, the fucking like it was almost a mix between a stalker and a clicker that pulled off the side of it. And like screaming at I'm like, what the hell is going on? I was like, this is fucking insane. And I'm running going, where do I go? Where do I go? I'm like running through the hole in the wall, and all of a sudden the fucking thing comes through the hole in the wall after. I'm like, motherfucker, and I'm running, and I'm like fucking trying to go, okay, switch weapons, get this down. Light it on fire. Molotov. Fucking, get your... I'm like, I got no bullets left in that gun. Get the other gun. I'm like, oh my god. And they just rips your fucking head off. I'm like, yeah, shit.
And having to stop and craft the Molotovs too.
Yeah, like I'm like, have shit in my pants, trying to do shit. I'm screaming, oh my god, I'm gonna die.
I'm running around and I'm like, who shit in my pants?
Yeah, like what the hell happened? I don't have a dog, but I think a dog shit on me. What's going on here? Fuck, it was like out of nowhere too. I knew there was something because when you walk in to go to the ambulance, there was like that door was all open. There's this big trail of disgusting blood all over the ground. I'm like, this isn't good.
Yep.
You knew this isn't good. This is something nasty's gonna happen, and I'm going to be receiving end of a fisting. Fuck.
Yep.
Damn.
And then briefly we have the very end of the game too with that other faction. I don't remember what they were called. I would just refer to them as the rapists.
The rebels.
I don't think that's it.
Rebels.
I don't know.
Google it right quick.
I don't know. I got a really really awful like rape slave vibe.
Well, they were like the biker gang.
Yeah.
The biker gang. Like, they don't really have much respect for anybody.
That was not comfortable. When he told Ellie, "Oh, we keep them in the and like how he referred to them, instantly was like red flags in my head. I was like, "Oh God, oh no, oh they're just keeping them alive just to rape them. This is terrible." Turns out like that probably was happening, but it was mainly just manual labor.
Yeah, they were labor force. Yeah, they were labor force. But we're gonna switch a little gears to the two pieces of the game that were so conflicting. When you were playing as Abby and you had to hunt down Ellie in the theater.
Yes.
I hated that.
Yeah.
I'll admit I got frustrated with it because trying to play as Abby when I'm used to playing that type of game, because Ellie was so much faster. And
Yeah.
and I'm like, I'm playing. I'm like, I'm thinking I'm Ellie, right? Because I'm so used to playing that type of, And I'm like, no, I gotta. And like, it took me a couple of really like to sit back and think, okay, I need to bait. I need to do this. I need to be smart.
Yes.
But that part where she was about to fucking slit Dina's throat,
Oh God, yeah.
I was like, man, like Abby totally was gonna do it for revenge for Mel, right?
Yeah.
That was the whole thing. It's like, holy
Yeah, when
shit.
she said she's pregnant, she goes, good.
And it's like, this is to pay you back for what you done to Mel. Even though realistically, Mel, even though she meant something to her, EP.01's baby was more of a conflict than anything else for her. But it was still Mel, her friend, someone that she cared about, regardless of her situation.
Yeah.
With Owen and the pregnancy, whatever. So it was such a visceral, holy shit, this is gonna happen. Dina's dead. Like, this is like, what the fuck? And then good old Lev saves the day.
Yep.
But
Thank fuck for Liv.
that's that back and forth, that running around, the fighting.
It was rough, yeah, because you can't like, as much as I hated Abby to start with, like, again, you grow sympathetic, you grow to understand and be like, it makes sense what she did, as fucked up as it was, and as much love as I have for the character, like, I don't blame her.
No.
And that was a hard thing to swallow at first, but towards the end, yeah, when you're stalking Ellie, I was like, I hate this so much.
Yeah, and I'm like, I don't want to hit her.
Yeah.
And I'm like beating the fucking tire out. I'm like, oh my god, this is horrific. What's happening? What am I doing? Like, Is this the end? Like, what the hell? Neil Druckmann, what have you done to me? I was like, oh. But then, like, just, I still think Jesse was done a little dirty.
Oh, he was done so dirty. Yeah, that was a hate crime what happened to Jesse. What the fuck?
But I mean, I think it was done to give you that holy fuck, like, these characters are gonna die.
Yeah, well, and to show how high the stakes are and how quick it can switch. Manny got done the same way.
Boom. Yep. Yeah.
Yep.
It was so interesting playing as Abby, knowing that was Tommy shooting at you.
Yeah.
Because you knew.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, it was such a
sure
fucking...
was. I was like, oh, this is Tommy. I know it's Tommy.
Yeah,
and then you catch him right at the end too, and I was like, oh no.
Yeah, and I'm like, this doesn't make any sense. What happens here now? I knew something was gonna happen because we already knew. But did you think Tommy was dead? Did you think?
No.
I fucking thought she shot him in the back of the head. When she shot him and stepped toward, I thought she shot him in the head. I didn't realize it was just in the shoulder.
Oh, at that point, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry.
No. Yeah.
I thought you meant because I had just said when she caught him.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. I jumped in.
So yes, I absolutely thought he was dead, and then he showed back up, and I went, "Oh, Tommy's alive."
So did Michelle, because she's seen that part, right?
Yeah.
And then whenever we were playing again, and then the part at the house, it's like, I'm like, I guess she shot him in the back. I'm like. So when I done the second playthrough, I was like looking for okay, she shoots him like in the top of the shoulder area. So
well, at the end of the game, when you see Tommy and he comes to talk to Ellie again, one of his eyes has gone white.
Yeah, maybe it was his face.
The damage, to the front of his face, kind of. I imagine it was like almost at the temple, but going through like out the front to the eye, instead of to the brain.
His face was jacked up, and he had that limp from getting shot in the leg and stuff like that. His leg and shit was all fucked up, and but yeah, I mean, like, Jesse got done dirty. But well, we're gonna go back and then we're gonna do to the air quote fake ending.
Yeah.
When you were at the farmhouse, I mean,
I got so faked.
I was like, is this the end of the story? Like, I felt like I played so much. I felt like I played so much of the game, and this had to be the end. And then, like, when you're outside with the little fella and doing things, I was waiting, it kept getting that feeling of something bad's going to happen.
Yeah, I was waiting for it too. And you're sitting out in the field on the tractor, and it's kind of that picturesque, like, just looking around. And it was kind of just staying there. And I was like, this is it. Right here, the sunset.
Yeah, waiting for credits to roll or hear a
But it
scream.
wasn't.
No, we get a dose.
Fuck.
We get a dose of PTSD.
Yeah, I didn't think that we would even. I didn't think we would see any more of Abby. I thought that was it, too.
I thought,
At the
yeah,
end.
I thought it was the end of the damn game. Like I was expecting
Yeah.
that to be, in other words, the ending of it, and then whenever she woke up and it's like she's taking off, I'm like, oh shit, there's more game. What the hell?
Yeah.
Like holy
Well,
shit.
and what gave it away too is like they flipped over to Abby.
Yeah.
And they showed her and Lev, and I was like, okay, we'll get to see what they're up to, and maybe they'll actually find the Firefly. Like, I was expecting, they'll find them, and then they went to the room and everything, and I was like, oh, okay, great. But what I noticed on the way through was that you started picking up items, and you started picking up, upgrade stuff, and then you found a bench in one of the houses, and I was like, oh no, this isn't good, and it's not good because this isn't end game type stuff. This is you're still collecting to upgrade. You still need ammo. The story is going to continue, and I was like, oh no.
The thing too is this is a question that's I've seen asked before, and I'll ask it here because I before I read the question online, someone had asked, and it was in a tweet. I kind of was wondering the same thing because when you finish the game and you see the round building, is that the same round building that the biker gang was in, or is that the round building where the Fireflies were?
That's a good question.
When Abby was on the radio, was she actually talking to Fireflies, or was she talking to the biker
I believe
gang?
that she was, because I thought that was pretty clear. That was a firm Firefly, yes, because he asked about a specific place, and then who ran it, and knew who it was, and then knew the significance of who Abby was. So yes, I think that they were absolutely like verified Fireflies on the radio.
That's the part that after I thought back, but initially whenever I'd thought, it was like like later on, like after you have afterthoughts and stuff in the game, when either on my second playthrough, or I was seeing another post online about it, or I was watching a clip or something online somewhere after I played through the game, or like I said, it was like. Then I was like, kind of having to think of it. Was that somebody that was but I'm thinking, yeah, but then I never thought of the specific questions, right?
Yeah.
At the time, I wasn't like thinking it was. Thinking, fuck, was that the bikers fucking tricking her? So they knew someone was at the house when she gave her position away. So that's that, and then I'm thinking no, because then the questions, like they knew exactly who everyone was, right? They knew stuff. So right, but like I said, the initial like. After the afterthought, when someone asked the question, I'm like, fuck.
Yeah.
And then I was like, when I was playing back a lot of the stuff in my head going, yeah, because as soon as they get off the radio, if they went outside, they got jumped. And,
oh, God, yeah, that scared the shit out of me, too. I jumped.
Yeah, so, I mean, like, there is that, it puts the question in your mind until you think back of the conversation that she had on the radio.
Yes.
But then
I thought that was a story fake out as well, because it went the whole other direction with the bikers. But I had thought that we were going to finish the game out with Abby instead in that situation.
Oh, really?
And that it was, that I thought that we were going to follow in a cinematic way, not really like the rest of the game is, you've got to fight your way to something. I thought it was going to be a little lighter on that. So it would just be mainly story. It would be us walking with Lev and talking about stuff, or maybe about how things used to be, because Abby's old enough to remember. And that they would get to the Fireflies and figure out that there's other people that are like Ellie, that she wasn't the only one, and that the research had continued somewhere, and that her revenge plot was more personal, and it wasn't about like a cure necessarily.
Okay.
You know what I mean? To confirm that it was just personal and that it wasn't as big picture, because I feel like she got a lot of that revenge motivation, not just because of the dad, but also because of like what it did for humanity's chances. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
But if you could kind of bring her down as far as her idea of what she did it for, if you could make her internalize it more and kind of anguish over like, I went after and murdered, however many people just for me, not for this idea. I thought that would have been an anguishing, but also a realistic type of it's bigger than you type of an ending. You know what I mean?
Right.
I thought that's where we were gonna go.
Like your holier than thou mission wasn't really as holy and as that as you
Yeah.
thought it was. Yeah,
Yeah.
that would have been an interesting twist on the end of it. I mean, is there going to be a part 3? Are we
Yes.
going to get we're going to get that realization at the start of who knows, right?
I think there will be, of course.
But I mean, we'll go with that ending part where you play as Abby. It's such a short section too.
Yeah.
It's such a short little section until all of a sudden you're Ellie again. And then
and I'll tell you briefly, not to cut you off, but briefly, where I thought it was going to go was that Abby was going to go and that she didn't write down where she was going. So I felt like Ellie was going to trace her steps to that address. She'd find the Firefly stuff down in there. And then I don't know if something would happen or whatever, but I had a vision of Ellie just wandering alone.
Oh, really?
And not knowing, what would happen to her. I thought that's where that was going to go, is that Abby was given new purpose, that she would go, get there, figure out it's more than just about her or the people that she knew, that the world has, progressed in some way, and that it wasn't all about her, and that her mission meant nothing for the big picture. And then Ellie, through the course of this game, through this revenge plot, had really, ruined all relationships that she had with everybody, because the hate was so all-consuming. It was all she could think about and all she could act on and do, that she alienated herself, and she's going to be wandering alone.
Well, in a sense, you mean that's exactly what happened, right?
Right, but we had the final confrontation before that.
That last section with Ellie was was fun. I enjoyed that last section. The gameplay mechanic with the chained up infected, where you could shoot the chain and have them attack. I messed around. I died a couple times. I was kind of messing around with the two clickers. I was trying to figure, because I got up on the roof and I was sniping, and then and all of a sudden the clicker come up behind and because I wasn't paying attention. I got gang attacked from behind by the clicker, because the clicker was, I was thinking, okay, the clicker's going after the people, I'll shoot them. The clicker heard my gunshots like a dumbass, and they came and killed me. So I'm like, oh yeah. So I was kind of playing around a little bit after that, going, okay, let's see if I can get them to kill pretty much everybody for me. So I played it really, really stealthy, and I only had like a couple people left to kill in that little area. So it was kind of fun to like release the clickers. On them. It was a rewarding little gameplay mechanic they added.
Yeah, it was really fun. And then even just releasing the regular infected, because I actually didn't release the clickers. I left them there. I was like, they're no threat to me, and I can handle these guys. There's not many of them, but I did release the infected that was chained up.
And that for me turned out to be nothing. The guy shot him in the head like pretty much right away.
Oh no, there was a whole hubbubaloo.
Really? You see, in mine, I shot the chain, and he took off, and was like, oh, he got loose, and he's like, he was trying to the guy was up in a little elevated position, and he was like trying to climb up to get him, and just like a couple of gunshots, and it was over. I'm like, well, that sucked ass.
Oh no,
so that's why I was so inclined to let the clickers free, because I wanted them to eat everybody's fucking head. But that last section is Ellie, like when you meet up when you're hung upside down, and then she gets the biker bit. And then they think, oh, you're dead because you're bit. Like, it was such a, like, aha moment for Ellie. Like, motherfucker, I don't care. Bite me all day long. Motherfucker, I'm immune. Like, that was such a fucking powerful moment as for her character to be like, I ain't scared. Like, it was her to make you shit your pants. And it was such an Ellie moment. It was such an Ellie moment, man. It was such great. It was reminiscent of that thing with David in the first one.
Yes.
You just got your finger broke by a little girl or whatever she said. Like it's the same fucking type of deal as that moment that it's such an Ellie moment. And then going through and killing all those people, going through to the end, and then when you get Ellie or Abby off that I couldn't even find her at first. The first one I ran into, oh, here she is right here, right up. I was like, that's Abby. It's like,
were you a big Jack girl still?
Well, I was like, it was the longer blonde hair, I think.
Oh, okay.
It's like, oh, right. I was like, where the hell? What? That's not her. Oh, so I was like, kind of like, oh, right here. I found her. I'm like, oh my God, that doesn't even look like her. What the hell?
Yeah.
Like, holy shit. And then when you let her, as you're running into the boats, and it's like, you get in the boats together, I'm like, holy shit. Like, Ellie's finally decided to let it go, and she's, like, wow, this is a. And then I'm like, oh shit,
Yeah.
here we
And
go.
she can't. She just couldn't.
And like when I'm like to the point where I'm like beating the hell out of Abby, I didn't want to.
Yeah.
As much as if you had taken me from the second she killed Joel to put me in that position, I'm gonna kill the bitch in like a blink of an eye.
Exactly.
It
And
would have
that's
been
a testament to the writing and the character building of the Naughty Dog crew.
and the acting of the team. Like it's just
The actors as well. Yeah.
it's like
sure.
it's such a thing. I was like I was sitting there and I was so conflicted. And my wife was watching this with me when I was playing this part. So it was like I said I don't want to. I don't want to kill her. And then like the thing that really resonates when you look at it, what parts that I took from this is when Ellie, whenever it's all said and done, and she finally decides to let her go. I was half expecting Lev to try to like a last desperate, something to try.
Yeah.
But Lev was almost dead.
Yeah.
So I mean, I didn't know if there was going to be like a yell from Lev to break her or something. Like I didn't know what was going to take place. But when she had that flashback of Joel, and she was going to forgive Joel, something clicked in her to like forgiveness is a thing that you can actually do.
Yeah, you can
Like,
make that choice.
She decided to let go of this anger, and take the forgiveness that she was given to Joel to kind of, I guess, to put it on Abby a little bit. I don't know if that's stretching it a little far, but like she had that flashback and realized that killing Abby is not going to bring Joel back.
No.
The mistakes that were made on Joel's side, where Joel's doing, and Ellie is fighting a fight that realistically is hers because of the anger and the frustration and hatred for Abby over what she done to Joel. But it was such a moment when she had that flashback to stop her.
Yeah.
It was such a thing to realize, okay, she's not killing Abby, she's letting her go. It gives an opportunity for the player. I mean, everyone's opinion may be a little different, everyone's insight's a little different, but it was such a thing to see, and it was such a piece of the story that we needed to see, was her forgiving Joel.
Yeah.
For the fact that Joel took her supposed goal in life away from her. Like the big elephant in the room, right? The whole thing where she found out, like we skipped right over that part, like where she found out that she was actually, immune, and they were going to work on a cure, and Joel killed everybody. Like that whole thing that she hated him for, she forgave him. So she realized, I guess, I can forgive Abby, I guess, because, that's a thing.
Well, it is, and it's an important thing because, where does it end then? Because then does she kill Lev? Does she let Lev go? Would Lev start his own revenge story? And it's a never-ending cycle, and you can't build a life, and you can't continue an existence that's based on ending other people. You can't live for revenge, as they showed phenomenally and exceptionally well, that it's a rotten objective, that it rots who you are and the relationships that you try to keep and cultivate. You can't do it.
Oh, definitely. It's definitely when you the old adages, when you're on a quest for revenge, dig two graves.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's exactly it.
And you look at what it cost Ellie. You look at the picture of what it cost her.
Yeah.
It cost her Dina. It cost her JJ, because I mean, like, she loved that little fella and the little bit that we spent with him. It cost her, the on Abby's side, the anger, hatred, and revenge cost her Joel, right? Yeah. And even her anger and hatred towards him cost her that time that they would have had together, but she had to dig into the whole backstory, like the whole thing with her in the hospital the first time. And then she even lost her two fingers, right?
Yeah.
So she can't play guitar anymore.
No, and
not the same way.
The family that she could have had with Dina, and then the relationships also, even with like Jesse and Tommy and Maria, and a whole, basically a sanctuary, a slice of civilization as best as they could make it, with people that were more good than bad. They were doing what they can. And all of that was lost. And then on Abby's side, it's the exact same thing. It's the exact same pattern of losing a father, literally in her sense and figuratively in Ellie's sense. But you losing a father and then going on a revenge quest and losing everyone around you as a consequence.
Yeah, like
Both of them followed the same route.
It's a scorched earth.
Yeah.
The only thing is with Abby, she had left. That's the only like the caveat to Abby's story. She's not totally alone, right?
Yeah.
Like her not killing Dina and her not killing Ellie, that was her redemption. That's why that's why it sounds wrong to say, but that's why she gets Lev, because that was her redemption. And like, I mean, I was saying it sounds bad when I say it this way, but Lev's like her saving grace, her reward. It's something now she has in her life to move forward with, right?
Well, because I'm convinced that Lev would have been gone had she killed Dina.
Oh, definitely. Oh, for sure. Oh, yeah. 100%.
So you're absolutely right about that relationship dynamic, and as far as like what the writers intended. I
don't like when you generalize and say that's her reward, and it sounds bad.
No, but I know exactly what you mean, and
it's in other words, because she made the choice to not murder Dina and kill Ellie in that moment. Lev stayed. So in other words, you showed that you still have some goodness left in you to do this, and she had something else to look forward to and build a relationship on. So that definitely is the thing. But it literally, when you look across the board, it literally cost Ellie everything.
Yes.
Joel. It cost actually Maria and Tommy's marriage is gone. You know, like those two aren't seeing eye to eye anymore.
And the relationship with Tommy, even in isolation, it's not even just losing them as a couple to bond with and spend time with and reminisce about, like, you know, Joel.
Right.
Even, you know, the thread that also kept Joel alive was Tommy, and she's lost that.
So like everything, and then like the fact that she lost her 2 fingers, so basically playing guitar is almost to a point impossible for her. Yeah. So even that one connection still that her and Joel had with the music and the love that she had, because whenever she picked the guitar up, whenever she went to sing that song that he sang to her, I was like, man, it just tear your fucking heart out, right?
Yeah.
Every time I was like, son of a bitch, like, you're fucking doing this to me, you motherfuckers. Like I didn't cry, you know, I wasn't crying like you know, that type of thing, but it was like it just like a kick right in the guts. It was such a fucking, everything was just like the game, it just like fuck. My number 2 game it's the top 2. Those 2 games are my top 2. Like I can't like, it's just like to sit back and to fucking still think about the how all the puzzle pieces fell into place, and like we'll work backwards here, like the story to the gameplay and the new mechanics they added to the fucking graphics. Like it just, the whole fucking package was just amazing.
And we briefly touched on it, but to give proper kudos and recognition to it, the actors.
Oh,
also.
Yeah. Like
this would have been an entirely different experience had the actors been subpar.
Yeah.
They knocked it out of the park just on every minute, every line, everything was fantastic.
It's to sit back and go, wow, I played that. Wow, I experienced that. And this is what I take from it. This is the feeling. And it's the worst thing is it's the same thing when I finished The Last of Us. It was one of the first times ever that I was like, I wish I could go back and play it again for the first time.
Yeah.
I don't know
the experience over again.
I don't know if I've ever had a game do that for me before.
Yeah.
Like I'm not going to get into other games right now either, but there is some of the games now that I've played in the many years gap between these two phenomenal masterpieces that have stuck with me, and that I still, like, to this day have utmost respect for the writing and for the story told. But for the all-encompassing whole thing, like from point A to point Z in this game, stellar.
Yeah.
Like,
Yep. Every bit of it.
unbelievable. Unbelievable.
Yeah, there was really nothing that held it back. I would say the only thing that I had any form of disappointment in, or like it didn't quite meet my expectation, I guess, was basically that the crafting system was the exact same from the first game.
Yeah.
And it's not even a complaint of like this really needs to be better or I really wanted this to improve, because it's functional. It's minimal in the sense of like you don't have crazy crafting, you don't have a ton of ingredients and everything like that. You have a few important things that you can make, and I didn't end up using, like, I don't use really trap mines. I didn't even
I
use
used them a few times.
I didn't even use the pipe bombs really. You know, I stick with Molotovs, and then when we're Abby and I needed to make shivs, I would make shivs. But on the whole, I didn't really craft too much, so I wasn't really that concerned with it. But as far as the level of improvement that we saw in everything, in all aspects of it, wasn't shared with that one particular thing. And that's the only thing that I can pick out. It's not even really a gripe because, like I said, it's fully functional. It's not really missing
And I mean,
anything.
and if
But
they
I
made
felt
it,
like it was the exact same.
if they made it any more complicated, there'd be way too much more shit to have to. And I spent
Yeah.
a lot of time searching for shit.
That's
anyways.
why. That's why I say it's not a gripe.
Right, but the only
because...
thing, the only thing that wasn't really improved on was the actual crafting part, because the gun doing the upgrades to the weapons was
that went far.
Yeah, it was nice. It was a nice change. Yeah. But I mean,
so it's not a complaint really, but just in the effort to be fair and not say that every single thing about it was perfect, I guess I'm concluding that that's one area where I noticed there was no drastic improvement.
So what did you think of the museum scene, the museum flashback?
Oh God, man, I loved it so much. That was my wife's favorite part of the game, and I'll tell you why. Is because when she started guessing what the surprise was, the first thing that my wife said was, after Ellie said a dinosaur, she goes, "Oh my God, that would be so funny." And so she's continuing to spit out guesses, and we get there and everything, and we turn the corner, and lo and behold, Tyrannosaurus bitch is sitting out there, and my wife lost her mind. If I could have recorded that moment, it'll be permanently a snapshot in my mind of one of my favorite reactions that my wife has given to anything in the world. I loved that moment because it was pure joy from Ellie and from my wife.
Awesome.
I loved it. And then the brief, like, NASA space type of simulation that Ellie went into and Joel had gotten her recording, I was crying, man. So I don't know if you've put it together or not, or if we've talked about it or addressed it, and this may not even be the proper place to say it, but I named my daughter Ellie after The Last of Us.
Oh, I know.
Okay. So I love the game so much. It's probably my all-time favorite game as well. But that father-daughter dynamic has always fucking tore my heart open. And seeing him take her to that was so special for her, and then get her that tape of the launch and everything, man, I was just boo-hooing. I was in full dad cry mode. Like,
you were ugly crying?
I was, man. I was. I had to ruin my shirt with snot. Like, it was ugly. I loved it. I loved it so much. The museum was amazing.
I loved the Jurassic Park comments. That whole fucking dialogue in the those are velociraptors. And so it says was this. So, well, it was in the movie, and then it's like, imagine the size of his poops. He goes, oh man, that's a big pile of shit. Like, I fucking was losing it. And when he made the comment about the second one not being as good as the first one, I'm like, holy fuck! Like, this is the tits. I was just like, when they were saying Jurassic Park, they were talking about Jurassic Park.
Yeah,
it was so great. I loved it.
You know, and it's moments like that, and it's moments like the aquarium for Owen. Those are the scenes for me that, like, if you would have left them out, we would be saying all the same great things. But God, they added such a touch of humanity
like
to what was going on.
Yeah. Yeah. Like it's like there's just those moments that you sit back and like when she had that helmet on and shit. I wasn't tearing up, but I could feel it. Everything was like, oh man, this is like the feeling and just the awe and like the like how happy Joel was to make Ellie's birthday so special
Yes.
and like they're even the part with the hat, the banter with the hat and shit. Like it was just everything of that whole scene was so great. It's like a conversation that would go on today almost, right?
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, other than walk around a museum with like fucking everything falling apart and the sort of clickers.
No,
but yeah,
it was absolutely it was true blue, man. It was great.
It was so awesome. It was so when I tried on every one of the space helmets. When I first played, I put on every fucking helmet, and I was like looking at everything in all of myself. I was like, oh man, that would look cool, and playing with the planet thing, and it's like this is so fucking neat. It was such an enjoyable like flashback and gameplay thing. It was so fun.
My wife actually looked it up on the phone, like as we were in there. She was like, "Is this a real place? Can we go to this place? We have to go to this place."
It is too. Because a lot of the stuff was based on realism and real places.
Yeah.
So I don't know exactly if it's an exact replica of any museum, but it might be. But it was so. Could you imagine finding that place and going and to be like, "It's like the fucking Last of Us Part 2, holy shit!"
Yeah.
It was so awesome. But
You'll probably see a lot of tourism in Seattle for this. Yeah.
That wasn't in Seattle though, was it?
I think it was because wasn't that where the hospital was?
No, that was in.
Was it not?
Jackson? It was in Colorado.
I don't know.
But see, they were in Jackson. They were in Wyoming, right? Isn't Jackson in Wyoming?
I think so.
So that would have been when they were already staying at Jackson. Like that would have been after. That would have been after the end. That would have been after the end of the first. So that would have been already back at Jackson.
I'm not clearly remembering where that was because she was also a little younger.
Yeah, she was trying to learn to play guitar.
Yeah.
And she had.
So I'm not sure when or where.
Yeah, I don't know exactly what. I don't know if you can look it up to see where that museum, if it's real, where it is. But yeah, it'd be so fucking cool to walk in there and see a version of what was in the game. It'd be cool. Like I don't know if it's a real place or not, but yeah, it'd be so cool if it was.
Yep.
But the way Seattle stuff is, I mean, I imagine you could probably go to Google Street View and fucking see everything similar to what was there, except not
it's in Wyoming. I just looked.
Okay. Yeah. So. Yep. Yeah. So maybe that museum, whatever, is in Wyoming. So you could technically go there. There you go. On your wife's birthday, and you can sit in the capsule and get her.
Don't spoil it. She might listen.
She'd be on the in the capsule and doing the old helmet on.
Oh god.
Oh man. Yeah. Well.
So any final thoughts, final topics that we didn't get through? I feel like we covered so much.
Oh, we talked for
near 2 hours.
2 hours, yeah. On a game that I played twice back to back for I don't know how many countless hours.
Yeah.
And I imagine I'll be playing it again sometime down the road. But yeah, I mean, like I said, I think we summed it up and stating what the story really encompassed and how it's, the two sides of the coin were really the same coin, the same side of the coin. Same. Both of them had the same reason to do what they did, but just one cost more than the other.
Yeah. And I love the direction they chose for it, that they showed that the focus was showing the corrupt nature of living a lifestyle of revenge or having a goal, that it overrides everything else and that it's rotten. I love that they showed that from both angles. You know what I mean? If it was a straight hero villain dynamic and we didn't get Abby's backstory, it would have suffered for it.
Oh, big time.
You know what I mean? We would have missed out.
Because, I mean, like, you look at the part where you talk about that scene where Jesse and Ellie are heading towards the aquarium, and then the sniper comes over the radio, and she says the way to help Tommy is to get Abby. No, the way to help Ellie was to get Abby.
Yeah.
She was willing to sacrifice Tommy to go get Abby at that point in
Love
time.
that Jesse called her out on it too.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
because
Like,
even my wife and I were both like, "What are you doing? No, that's not. He needs help."
exactly.
Yep.
I mean, we knew, like, like just the fact that later on we know that he didn't need the help because he got away or whatever. But that at that point in time, she was basically letting Tommy fend for himself to get her goals. Like you said, her whole focus and pointed was to go, and because the second Dina was throwing up and realized she's pregnant, they should have packed up and left.
Yes.
And especially when Jesse showed up, it should have been,
Yep.
well, Tommy's still out there, and we promised Maria bringing Tommy back. Well, fine. And then when the focus then shifted, let's go find Tommy. The second, because there's no way Tommy knew to go to the aquarium. How would he know?
Right. Yeah.
Like, she was making so many excuses to make her goals meet her means. Is that how it should be worded? To make her ends justify the means, I guess, is the I'm trying to say is she was
adjusting what was happening to fit what she wanted to happen.
right. She was creating the narrative to say, "Oh, Tommy's probably going to the aquarium too." Well, how the fuck would Tommy know where to go?
Yeah,
he didn't have the radio, he didn't have the map, he didn't have anything. He was going on probably catching and torturing people to find shit out, and we don't know who he captured, and what he was told because we didn't see Tommy's story.
Briefly speaking of Tommy and torture, I thought it was fucking brilliant. The tactic that he had for getting information was take two people, have them write it down. If they don't match, like, oh man, that was brilliant.
Well, it's the same thing that Joel did in the first one.
I know, but I love seeing something like that.
And
you know what I mean?
And then the
it's
whole
so
thing,
authentic.
And then the whole thing where Ellie tried to do it with Mel and Owen, like she just done it poorly. She handled it wrong. But yeah, I mean, that whole that she was trying to do that whole thing where you tell me and you write it down and you tell me if they don't match up, you're getting shot. Like it's such a great tactic. But seeing that in the original Last of Us when Joel did that to those two guys and we shoved a fucking knife to the guy's top of his knee, I felt that. I think I still feel it to this day. But that part in the hotel where they find the two of them tied up and she explains it, it's like, yeah, that is such a. Because I mean, there's so many people, including myself, that would love to see that 20-year gap where Tommy and Joel are fucking the two badass motherfuckers just murdering and robbing and being straight up gangster. Like, a lot of people would love that 20-year gap filled in.
Yeah.
But I don't know if they could go back and do that now.
No, I don't believe so. Because I think going back to Joel in really just about any way is going to be disingenuous. You know what I mean? There's no point to see that if we're making a Last of Us Part 3. Yeah. We do not need that big time jump because there's nothing back there that would help us get to where we are now.
No,
it's
but there was there were so many people, and I can never remember the guy's name. Remember the tunnel, or the sewer they went through whenever it was Joel, Ellie, and the other two fellas they met up with in the town. The two brothers in the first one. Remember they went into the sewer and they were going through and they found like the old abandoned sewer area.
Not coming to mind.
So remember they were chased. They were being chased out of the town by the guys in the truck.
I remember being chased by the guys in the truck.
Right. So then you're on the bridge, and and then or just before you get to the bridge, the two brothers take off because the ladder fell and he leaves you behind, and then you and Ellie are running for your life at the bridge and you jump off.
Okay, yeah.
And then the guy pulls you out of the water. The two brothers, the older fella and the younger fella, and the younger fella ends up getting bit, and he ends up killing his brother and then killing himself.
Yeah.
Okay. So remember the part where they're going through that sewer and they kept mentioning that one character. I can never remember his name. I'd have to Google it or some shit. But people were wanting the story of that guy, the boat guy that ended up having that little refuge inside the sewer system. People were wanting.
He was the one that had the traps in place, right?
Not Bill. No, not him.
No.
No. Shit.
Oh, fuck, man. I don't know.
Oh my god, I'm so bad with fucking names. It's a game I played so many times, and and love it. But it's shit. I'm trying to remember the guy's damn name.
I don't know.
Anyways, it's not really important, but they wanted the story on that guy too. The story of the guy that had the fishing boat or the tugboat, and then they had the basically they had a fortress inside the sewer, but then everyone was dead. You know, they had going through, everyone was ended up being dead. Everyone wanted his story because there was never a true ending to say the guy died, and he had there were some fleshed out notes and stuff about him. But a lot of people, had asked for a fan service of other aspects. Some people are still saying they'd love to see a different story be told in that universe.
Yeah, well, I think that if they do that, what I would like to see is actually not a game. I would rather see either an HBO series or something like that.
We're getting an HBO series. Didn't you know that?
I did not.
You did not. I was gonna mention that. We are getting an HBO. The like the producers and stuff of Chernobyl are involved, dude.
What?
Oh yeah.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, well there you go. Wish granted.
That was easy. There's the easy button, Boop, boop.
Damn. I had wished for something that we already had though. What the fuck?
Yeah, there's
that's great, but yeah, I don't think that a full game devote. I mean, because where are you gonna go? I mean,
exactly. That's what I think too. I get the world is cool, and the whole infected and stuff's a really cool thing. But to put different characters in there, I wouldn't care about them. How are you gonna make me care about somebody in that world that's not related to the first two stories that I've just?
Well, you've already done a cure angle, and now in this one you've done the revenge angle, and you've tried to have kind of in Jackson like rebuilding society. I don't know that they could introduce something that's really going to grab me. Now, I'm not saying that the game wouldn't have value. Excuse me. I'm not saying that they wouldn't pull it off.
No,
if they attempted, but as far as what's coming to mind, just initially right now, I've got nothing that really jumps out as compelling.
No, I mean,
I don't know. I agree the world is fantastic, and for sure other stories are happening around there. But something that I would say stacks up against these two games, I don't think so. I don't see it.
It would have to be it would have to start with such a jarring plot, a story, to something really to draw you in, like to give you someone to care about other than what you've already dealt with. To go, oh, The Last of Us. Here's Julie's story. Like, who the fuck is Julie? Why do I care about Julie? Well, Julie, this happened to her. Oh my god, that's horrific. But then
who's Jimmy?
Who's Jimmy and Julie? What the fuck do we care? Like, it's Tommy and Gina. Who gives a shit, right? Like, it doesn't make me. I don't care about them. I care about the characters that I already invested my time in. Don't give me someone else to, because how else are you gonna do that? You're gonna give me some shocking story that she lost her husband or lost one of her kids. We've done that. We've been down those roads.
By this time we've been through it all.
So there's nothing really. There's some cool stories that we got slight touches on and stuff like that. And I mean, I think there's still a possibility for more story and maybe a redemption. Maybe that's the way they're gonna go. I'm not 100% sure. I mean, I'm not Neil Druckmann. Maybe. And the amazing team over at Naughty Dog, but if they want to hit me up,
the only thing that comes to mind right now as far as finishing a trilogy, if they wanted to make 3 and use these characters, it would be Abby and Lev linking up with the Fireflies, Abby telling them about Ellie and that she's still out there, and you trying to go find her to bring her back.
That's what some other people were saying, almost not quite to that point, but pretty much. And that's the way I feel too. There's really, it'd have to be like a redemption, to put a nail in the coffin of the story, a redemption and a true ending. Because if you couldn't leave it a cliffhanger, you couldn't leave it a false end. It'd have to be. I don't think Naughty Dog would do that anyways, but I think they'd have to close the book on it. I would love another game, because I mean, like I said, it'd be one thing to say I have a trilogy as the top 3 games. Of my all time.
Clean sweep 1, 2, 3.
Exactly. So I mean, I definitely would love to see another one. Whether we'll get it, I mean, time will tell. It'll be on the PlayStation 6.
At this point,
but,
I don't know.
Yeah, I
But
mean,
yeah, I think that if we do that, that'll probably be an avenue that's explored, knowing that there's more Fireflies out there, that Abby and Liv are alive, that they're going there, and that we don't know where Ellie's going. But that would be the mystery they'd have to figure out. That would be the driver for the story. Is okay, where'd she go? Track her down. Has anyone seen her? She's got a distinctive tattoo on her arm. She's a tiny little girl.
with a
You know,
foul
and
mouth.
then yeah, foul mouth, and then you'd go to a new area. I don't think she'd go back to Jackson. She couldn't bear the thought of showing her face to those people.
No,
So she'd
she's
go somewhere else. You'd have to find a new location and yeah, try to find her, track her down, and then get her back.
yeah,
So it'd be another, it'd be a there and back again type of Hobbit tale.
yeah. I'd be happy with it. I mean, I can't see them doing anything wrong. Not after the first one, and then what they done with the second one. I cannot imagine them fucking up the third one.
Yeah, it's
I can't see it. I'm I'll pre-order it tomorrow. You know,
yeah. As
Neil,
far
Neil,
as
Neil, if you're
trusting
listening,
the team,
yeah.
I have implicit trust. Not even just from this series, honestly, but like through the Uncharted series, I thought that was fantastic, stellar series as well.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So I have complete faith in Naughty Dog as much as I can in a video game company that they're going to do the right thing by their product. I believe that Naughty Dog will.
Oh, me for sure.
They've got as good of a track record as anybody could have. So I think that if they do a third game, I trust that it'll be a slam dunk and that it'll close the story in a, if not satisfying way, in a conclusive, definitive way.
Oh,
You're not going to make everybody happy. I don't think the ending of this game made everybody happy. You know what I mean?
Oh no.
Well,
And-
clearly not.
and-
Clearly they weren't
Yeah.
happy. Some of them.
Yeah, and yeah. So like we're gonna have to wait to see because I mean we know with the current state of the world, the fact of we don't know when production's gonna start on this HBO series and what this HBO series is gonna entail, and the stories that can be told in this world of The Last of Us on HBO.
Yep.
Like I mean that's something we got to look forward to, I guess, to satiate us until The Last of Us Part 3 is revealed at E3 2025. You know, if there's an E3 2025 or PlayStation Expo 2024 or some shit.
Sure.
Yeah.
When we get back to some sense of normalcy in 2030, we can revisit the topic.
But yeah, so yeah, on the note of at a 10, which you know was kind of a everyone already reviewed it and give it like pretty much a 10 out of 10. I would rate it pretty much a 9 out of 10.
Yeah, I'm gonna give it.
Yeah,
I'm gonna give it a 10. I'll
Yeah.
give it the masterpiece rating because I feel like it is the first one as well. I loved that they took chances.
I'm giving it a 9.5 because it made me shoot dogs.
Yeah, that was not a high point.
I
for me.
hitting one with a Molotov was pretty gut wrenching.
Yeah, well, I tried to do it from a distance, so I didn't have to hear the squeals so
But
much.
yeah, so I'll get one of the reasons I'm giving it a 9.5 is because they made me kill dogs.
That's fair. That's
Yeah,
valid.
Okay.
No, I do give it the 10 though
Oh, me too.
because I feel like every part of this game, from the actors, from the design, from the storytelling, the writing, the graphics, the gameplay mechanics, the audio, everything was done by masters.
Oh.
They were all at the top of their game, pun intended, the entire time. Nobody let me down in any department, and it was really just a monumental feat.
Yep, I agree.
It really was.
I agree. I had 10 out of 10. I was doing the 9 because I just shoot dogs. But yeah, it's a 10 out of 10 for me. It's like I said, I couldn't sit back and think of anything that I'd change.
No, not really.
So there's not too often you do that in a game. Go, gee, I'd rather if they'd done that or this, you know, when I nitpick it. But we're gonna end it here. But I'm gonna state that we're gonna talk about unhappiness on a different level in part 2 of this discussion. So thanks everyone for stopping by. This is a brand new series.
2 hours.
If you stuck through, I appreciate it. If you've watched it in bits and pieces, whatever. If you've made it this far, as we've always said in all our podcasts and stuff we've done in the past, thank you. Like I said, this is brand new. It's going to take some time to get everything completely fleshed out, what I'm going to do with this project. It's on my YouTube channel. I'll be linking it on Twitter. I don't believe I'm ever gonna live stream this. I don't believe it's ever gonna be that type of a thing. I'm gonna try to cover like gaming news, big topic stuff. I want to do some more game talk discussions. I got some plans coming up. If everyone remembers me gaming with my good friend Fatty, we're trying to get more his side, but he's trying to get a website up. And I'm going to be putting this on his website as well, along with my YouTube channel. And I'll be going to get a SoundCloud set up, but I'll be tweeting all this information. So on my Twitter, if you found it here, just keep watching my Twitter feed. If you found me on YouTube, check the description because all my links and stuff will be in there. And also link to Gladys's. You're not doing YouTube anymore, are you, Gladys? You're just doing Twitch?
Not really YouTube anymore, no. I haven't put up a video in a very long time. I do stream somewhat regularly again.
Okay.
So a couple times a week, you can find me in the evenings, usually of the Eastern time. And then I usually get a day off during the week that I'll try to stream a bit. So I'll be around. Yeah,
I'll link your Twitch and your Twitter in
sure.
In my description for this. So yeah, so I want to thank you for being my first guest. I really appreciate jumping in because the second you talked about finishing this game and we hit that like 3-line back and forth, I'm like, dude, this has got to happen because I am like just wanting to talk about this game like, and I get no one. I mean, I love my wife. She's not a gamer in the same sense I am. She doesn't play it, and I mean, she doesn't. She watched a lot of it. And she understood it, and you hear me talk about it endlessly. So she's probably happy not to have to sit here and listen to this conversation.
Yeah, mine as well, probably. But no, absolute pleasure to be here with you once again, and to be able to sit and talk with you, and love spending time with you, buddy. Every chance.
Oh man, yeah, so appreciate it.
This is all kudos to Panther for setting this up and for putting the effort forward. And I'm just along for the ride on this one, and I'll probably be there from time to time. But,
definitely.
Looking forward to seeing everything.
There's some conversations that need to be had. And I mean, there's going to be. I'm hoping to get some other people involved in some conversations. I have some ideas for what I do with this, so hopefully we can make it into something. But yeah, so stay tuned for part 2 of this in-depth chat of The Last of Us. The next one's going to be pretty gritty and pretty hard to listen to for some people.
It's probably going to be a little more controversial than you and I are used to doing.
Definitely,
as far as in an official capacity.
Exactly, but it needs to be discussed.
Sure.
It needs to be discussed. So we're going to leave it at that. We're going to leave you with that little bit of a little taste there at the end.
Yeah, this won't be The Last of Us.
That's right. That's right. God damn, you and your dad jokes. All right, everybody.
Do it.
All right, thanks for tuning in Beyond the Games, and we'll see you next time.
Yeah, thanks, guys. See ya.